Gettysburg, William Burroughs.
Yep.
I mean, and I actually write in the book about Jack Kerouac. He was connected to, another crime that involved, the queer culture at the time in New York, and fascinating story there. And I write about it in relation to my time in Don't Ask, Don't Tell, and how that made me feel and how I could interpret, and empathize with that time period. So yeah, I found some connection in culture, even in the middle of the North Cascades National Park. So.
I knew this was going to be a jam-packed conversation, and I've got 90 seconds, and I haven't even asked you a single question about being a firefighter. So I guess I would say thank you for your service as a firefighter. Briefly, are you going to be doing any tour events, public readings about your book this fall?
So far, I have readings booked in Washington State, Bainbridge Island, Seattle, Bellingham. And I'm starting to branch out and try to reach out. I might be going to Banff. I might be going to Texas. And so we're trying to put that together now. So if somebody listening wants a guest, reach out. I'm available for readings and conversations.
And they can do so, I imagine, through your website, lancegarland.com. Also, you are actually, he is out there with Lance on, Out there with Lance on Instagram, correct, is your handle?
Out there with Lance, okay. Yep.
In my notes, I was like, okay. Anyway, thank you, Lance, for joining me here today, and thank you, everyone, for listening and or watching on YouTube. We're going to see you all back here on Monday. Until then, have a great weekend, and keep it queer, America.
My mom has decided to learn to paint, and she's good.
My dad's now into creative cuisine, and I've already put on 6 pounds.
Learning new things comes with age.
My mom, she started forgetting my name and what we're talking about.
Forgetting well-known things doesn't. Memory loss may be a sign of Alzheimer's disease. Early detection gives you and your loved one time to plan for the future. Learn the warning signs of Alzheimer's at 10signs.org. Brought to you by the Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council.
Snakes, zombies, sharks, heights, speaking in public. The list of fears is endless. But while you're clutching your blanket in the dark, wondering if that sound in the hall was actually a footstep, the real danger is in your hand, when you're behind the wheel. And while you might think a great white shark is scary, what's really terrifying and even deadly is distracted driving. Eyes forward, don't drive distracted. Brought to you by NHTSA and the Ad Council.
You're listening to WCPT 820, Chicago's progressive talk station, where facts matter and truth always wins. Stay informed, stay engaged.
AP News, I'm Marcela Sanchez. U.S. futures fell 0.9% after President Trump announced tariff rates of up to 41% on imports from 68 countries and the European Union. The president moved today's tariff deadline to August 7th, but increased the rate on Canada to 35% effective today. The administration says Canada has not done enough to stop illegal drugs, human traffickers, and other criminals. And a federal judge says he's giving the Trump administration until August 13th to explain how it will restore Voice of America's operations. The government-run outlet dates back to World War II and provides news to other countries, but has been largely black since March. And in Texas, there's sharp criticism over local response to July's flooding.
Local officials are facing scrutiny over response to deadly flooding weeks ago in Texas. More than 130 people, mostly in Kerr County, were killed. At a hearing, County Emergency Management Director Dub Thomas says he was sick the day before floodwaters started rising.
I briefly woke around 2 p.m. when there was no local rainfall or indication of elevated risk and returned to rest.
Thomas says he missed 2 calls from Texas Emergency Management. Kerr County Sheriff Larry Letha acknowledged being asleep as the crisis was unfolding. The top county official, Judge Rob Kelly, says he was out of town but was alerted early in the morning.
And I don't remember if they woke me up or I woke up.
Texas Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick expressed his frustration.
I'm not pointing a finger, I'm not blaming you. I just want to set the record straight. Everyone was here that day working their ass off. and you were nowhere to be found.
Local officials also said they needed but lacked an updated warning system. I'm Ed Donahue.
A 28-year-old teacher who admitted to fatally stabbing a couple he didn't know will have his first court appearance today. The pair was hiking with two of their children in an Arkansas state park last Saturday. This is AP News. AP Washington correspondent Sagar Magani reports Kamala Harris has written a book about her historic and failed presidential bid.
I cannot wait for you to read this.
It's called 107 Days, the length of her brief run.
The shortest presidential campaign in modern history.
In a social media video, Harris says she spent a lot of time thinking about it.
With candor and reflection, I've written a behind-the-scenes account of that journey.
The book will be published in September by Simon & Schuster, which will not give specifics about what Harris wrote about, including her thoughts on President Biden's fitness for office. Instead, the publisher says Harris, quote, addresses everything we would want her to address. Sagar Magani, Washington.
U.S. Envoy Steve Witkoff is set to inspect food distribution in Gaza today. More information at apnews.com. I'm Marcela Sanchez.
This is 8:20 a.m. WCPT Willow Springs and streaming worldwide at WCPT820.com. We are Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter. Now, your WCPT 820 weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. We'll see areas of smoke and haze at times here for today, otherwise mostly sunny skies with a high in the mid-70s. Winds out of the northeast around 5 to 15 miles per hour. Then for tonight, partly cloudy, although near 61. By Saturday, sunshine, high of 80 degrees. Sunday, mostly sunny skies, a high of 82. Monday, we'll see plenty of blue skies and sun, high of 84. That's your latest Chicago weather update.
Currently, it's 68. If you didn't think skipping breakfast was a big deal, you'd be right. Before. But now, Wendy's has Buck Biscuits. We're talking sausage, egg, and cheese biscuit, bacon, egg, and cheese biscuit, or even the Honey Buddy Chicken Biscuit. For just $1 each. Seriously, you can get all three if you want. They're just $1. So you'll never skip breakfast again. If you're smart. Breakfast for $1? Gotta be Wendy's.
Limited time only. Price and participation may vary. Limit 5 qualifying items per transaction. Not valid in the combo while supplies last.
WCPT 820, Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter. Welcome to Choose Views with Richard Chew. Get ready to dive into a world of insightful conversations and thought-provoking discussions.
As progressives, our job is to have an all-inclusive, full-on assault with all of our players.
A show that focuses on moving our political, social, economic, gender, and cultural conversation forward.
And all of our players means all of our players.
It's Choose Views. And now, here's your host, Richard Chew.
Good Friday morning, progressives. Welcome to the August 1st. Yes, it is. We made it. Oh, and I forgot. Happy August 1st, Henry. I'm so sorry I didn't say happy August 1st. And to everybody, happy August 1st. 773-763-9278. Catch my show on Facebook Live, TuneIn Radio, and YouTube. Email me at richard@WCPT820.com. Follow me on X, Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, Blue Sky, Threads, and Substack. And there'll probably be more in the days and weeks to come. And definitely catch all of our shows by subscribing to our WCPT podcast on Apple Podcast, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. That's right. You can get Choose Views featured interviews, I should say, the short versions and the long versions. Joan Esposito, live, local, and progressive. Driving It Home with Patty Vasquez, The Big Picture with Edwin Eisendrath, Out Chicago, and our other shows and interviews. We love it that you guys tune in to our broadcast, and we really appreciate all that you do in that space. And then, of course, make your way over to heartlandsignal.com, where we have always great articles post that you guys can check out, and different things that are happening around the country, and most definitely here in the Heartland, that being the greater Midwest. Going to chat a little bit about, we've got a clip that we're going to play in a moment, but some things that are happening here in the Midwest that I think are incredibly important. Let's see. Our guest today on the show, it's Friday, so that means that TruBlu Politics Podcast co-founder Karen Byrne will be with us in the 6:30 hour. So we got to keep it moving this morning. Natasha Murphy, who's a director of health for the Center for American Progress, and Dr. Samir Vohra with the Illinois Department of Health will be with us. So it's kind of health day a little bit. At least we'll be talking about some things that are important as it relates to national health, as well as a little bit of the conversation around Medicare and Medicaid. But right now, check this out, progressives.
There's just an amazing thing amongst all this massive change, the biggest one in 60 years. There's one thing that's been missing. There's been no press conference for the people who support this to stand up and tell you why it's so good. What are the positives of this? Because if the argument is this was about saving money and reducing the national debt, it did not do that. It shifted the money. It took Minnesota's federal dollars, which we are one of a handful of states that are payer states that send more in than we get back, and they shifted it to tax cuts with 85% going to the top 4%. So it means that all of this disruption, all of this change added $3.4 trillion to the national debt, undermined our healthcare system, all the while shifting that. I would think if you vote for a bill like this, you would have been holding press conferences across the state, standing in front of you and saying, the governor's wrong, the CEO is wrong, the doctor is wrong, the numbers are wrong, here's what it is. No one has done that because they cannot.
And the problem with, and that was Governor Tim Walz, Minnesota, talking about what's happening with this bill and how, more specifically, Republicans just are not stepping up and stepping to the mic, holding town halls. And why is that? Because they punked out. No other way of saying it than just that, which is one of the reasons why I've said to Democratic congressional leaders that have been on the show and just in general, go into the backyards of the Republicans, go into their districts and steal their voters, steal their candy, talk to them about the things. Because see, here's the thing. We've yielded space, maybe not intentionally, or let's call it gotten comfortable. Democrats have maybe gotten comfortable. That's a statement that I've heard from a lot of Democratic voters, and that may very well be true. How we've yielded space, we didn't pay attention to certain things. All of the above could be the reasons, plural. But what the Republicans are doing is they're running from their constituents by not having town halls, by not going and talking with the people that voted them into office. So Democrats, huge opportunities all over the country, and it's happening. I see. I know that Robin Kelly, Congresswoman Robin Kelly, when she was with us a couple of weeks ago, talked about the fact that she and Minority Leader Jeffries are making their way around. Excuse me, guys. They were heading down to Texas. They're going to other places. That has to continue. That has to be a weekly, at minimum, thing where they're going somewhere. Different 3, 4, 5 congressional leaders, Democratic congressional elected officials should be going to different communities, different districts. They have to do that. Because like the governor said, if the Republicans were so proud of this bill, then they would be talking about it. I mean, I know I would be if I had voted for the bill and I was proud of what the bill was going to represent to my constituents. I'd be holding town halls, Zoom ones as well as face-to-face. But they're not doing that. So Democrats take advantage of that. Take advantage of it right now. Do not wait. Keep, just like with Epstein, keep our foot on the gas pedal. Do not let up, and do not give them any room to breathe when it comes to this bill. And one of the easiest things to do is to go into the districts. Because listen, there are districts that are probably red districts, I should say, that are probably in excess of 90%, red voters or Trump voters. But go talk to the 10% that didn't vote for Trump in a particularly high red district. Bring those folks out, and you might be surprised who they bring with them. That's the way you go in and you steal some of their candy. Is you go in and you don't assume, you don't worry about that's a predominantly red district or Trump voting district. You go in and you say, we want to talk to the people that did not vote. and people that did vote because they're dissatisfaction with what's going on. And the numbers do not lie. We've got a little bit longer clip on the Trump numbers, which we probably have to bring to you next week, but it's a great clip. And I'm sure those numbers are going to continue to go down as this Epstein tragedy continues to be in the news, which it needs to be. All right. To keep things moving, let's do what we do. Henry, let's get in with a couple of quick Choose Views news items, because I do want to talk about this gerrymandering that's taking place down in Missouri. All right, Choose Views news items here, August 1st, 2025. Mexico gets a 90-day trade extension. The trade talks are in full swing at the White House as its self-imposed deadline of today. Yesterday, Trump said he would extend the United States' current agreement with Mexico for 90 days as the two nations continue to negotiate. The news follows a flurry of activity that took place late Wednesday, including the imposition of 15%, 25%, and 50% tariffs on imports from South Korea, India, and Brazil, respectively. The White House is also raising tariffs on imports of semi-finished copper products to 50%, which we brought to you yesterday. Inflation did pick up in June. Those numbers have been verified. The Federal Reserve favorite price gauge shows inflation picked up in June to one of its fastest paces in years. The core personal consumption expenditures index rose 2.8% on an annual basis of 0.03% from the earlier month. The increase was driven mainly by higher prices of clothing, household furnishings, and other tariff-hit goods. Concerns that the tariffs could still reignite inflation had prompted the central bank late Wednesday to hold the rate steady for the 7th consecutive month. Shake Shack shares are taking a beating. Why? This is reported yesterday, even though the burger chain reported mostly strong quarterly results. Sorry, guys. The company brought in $356 million in revenue in the second quarter, up 13% over a year ago. System-wide sales rose nearly 14% in the same period, though in the last quarter, that jump was driven mostly by increases in prices, which is going to, as predicted, end up having weaker performance because of budget-conscious consumers. Budweiser's shares are tanking. Expanding profits couldn't eclipse a 9-straight quarter decline in sales, as the beverage company saw on Thursday. The stock dropped more than 11% at one point following weakening demand for beers, including Budweiser, Stella, and Corona. Sales volume fell 1.9% for the quarter over the previous year. Worse numbers are expected. And last but not least, Lyft, seeing some optimism, finally is going to be expanding into Europe. It has been cleared by regulators to acquire FreeNow, a taxi app that operates in 180 cities across Europe. Starting yesterday, Lyft users will be prompted to download the FreeNow app when they're in those cities, while FreeNow customers will be encouraged to get the Lyft app in the U.S. and Canada. Ultimately, the same drivers will be available on both platforms. The acquisition is Lyft's first outside of North America and will give it a foothold in 9 countries, including the UK and Italy. So there you go. A couple of quick Choose Views news items on this August 1st, 2025. Guys, let's take a quick break. When we come back, we'll be talking about some things that are happening with gerrymandering. 773-763-9278. This is Choose Views, and we'll be right back.
This is a WCPT moment in labor. When Serena Williams won her title at the Tennis Grand Slam tournament, we know she gets the same prize money as her male counterpart. However, prior to 1973, that wasn't always the case. When Billie Jean King captured her first Wimbledon title in 1966, she was surprised to find out that the winner of the men's tournament received £2,000, while she only received £750. After being unable to find any tournaments for women, King and 8 other women formed their own tournament, the Virginia Slims Invitational, where each woman was paid $1 before posing for the famous picture of them each holding up their dollar, with the caption, "Contract Pros." While the move was bold, the pay discrepancies continued. King threatened to boycott the 1973 U.S. Open unless the women were paid the same as the men. Thanks to a grant from Band Deodorant, both the men and women's singles would take home $25,000. Despite the progress at the U.S. Open, it wouldn't be until 1984 that the Australian Open would execute equal pay, followed by the French Open in 2006, and finally Wimbledon in 2007. This has been a WCPT moment in labor. We're fighting for your rights.
WCPT 820, Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter. Richard Chu's got his eyes on the truth. And you're right where you need to be. This is Chu's View on WCPT 820.
Hey guys, we're back. This is Chu's Views. We didn't lose our minds this morning. Okay. I was talking before the break about the bill, a little bit about the bill. And why I think it's important, given what Governor Walz has said, that Republicans they're not talking about it. They're not reaching out, having town halls with their constituents. I believe that if we're going to win, we have to play the game differently. And so if Republicans aren't going to be out talking about the bill, Democrats need to be out talking about how awful the bill is. Many people don't even know what's in the bill, candidly. And to that end, I think that Democrats in any state, whether it be in Illinois, whether it be in Wisconsin, Michigan, wherever there is a blue district, you should be going to other districts. In your state, no one says that a congressperson from Illinois can't go to a district in Texas or in any other state, for that matter. There's no rules that say that. I mean, it's the decorum which has gotten us in trouble. So for all the people out there that are trolls to that conversation, you must not want to win, because we've given up territory by saying, well, it's the decorum. We should be going into other districts and talking. Eric Swalwell's been doing it. Our own Congresswoman Kelly's been doing it, and others. I don't have all the list. I think Jasmine Crockett's been doing it, and she's in a red state that's trying to be further redistricted. So I don't care. Right now, Democrats have to play the game differently. If the Republicans are not going to go to their constituents and talk about it, then Democrats, you should do it. Let's break up this sort of old school. We should make sure that we are out talking to other communities, our Democratic leaders, and when people say that we shouldn't be going down this path of the gerrymandering. Listen, let me just get to this article, because this is the thing I want to talk about. This is an article that we have over at Heartland Signal. Missouri GOP is considering special session to gerrymander the state even more. Okay, that right there. Well, let me continue on. This is an article posted by our very own Rich Eberwine. Republicans in Missouri who control the state legislature and governor's mansion are reportedly considering calling a special session this year to redraw the state's congressional maps. Republicans already control 6 of Missouri's 8 congressional seats, but Governor Mike Kehoe, who was also the governor that said that he wanted to take back the bill, the legislation that the voters had voted for to make sure that wages were protected. This is the same governor of the same state, but he's considering gerrymandering the state even more to give the GOP 7 seats to help the Republicans keep their majority in the U.S. House of Representatives. Okay. I sometimes don't trust what people send me, and I mean that because I wonder, are they bots or are they just, what are they thinking? We're always complaining about Democrats need to do more. Democrats don't do enough. Democrats need to change this. Democrats need to change that, et cetera, et cetera. I don't care if it's, how Democrats message, their branding, they're not talking to the right people. They're not talking to the everyday man and woman, and the list goes on. Gerrymandering or redistricting. Mike Kehoe is telling the state's voters, you don't matter. He made it clear, Henry, the other day when he said he was going to that they were going to go back and rescind this bill that the voters said yes to in terms of their compensation. Now he wants to gerrymander the state even further to make it more difficult for voters in the state to have their voices heard. And I'm frankly a little bit ticked off when anybody that says that they're a progressive liberal Democrat, I wonder if they're being honest with themselves. when they say that, and then when this kind of thing happens, they sit back and go, well, we shouldn't, No. And I'm talking about if that person's a governor or if they're a voter and everything in between. If they're going to play the game this way, we've got to stop sitting on our hands. I don't blame. Listen, we already know how craven they are. Honest. I mean, we know they're going to cheat because they can't win on their ideas and their policies and their bills. We know that already. And then it's not this is not cheating. Let me back up. I need to clean that up. This is not cheating. They are allowed to do it. Okay, so let's just be so that right there. See, that's the thing that the Democratic voices, all of us, anywhere you are in the country, leader, voter, volunteer, what they're doing is not cheating because the laws allow them to do it. Why? Because they're in power. And why? Because people haven't voted. And why? In many cases, and that's what this is designed to do, because they have been voter suppressed. Okay, so I'm hot about this because I want to see all of us take this seriously. The Missouri GOP is considering a special session to further gerrymander their state. Voters are going to be further disenfranchised, and that is disgusting. So Democratic voices, Democratic elected officials, Democratic leaders of organizations, we have to play this game differently. Yesterday, we had on Dr. Annie Andrews, who's running in South Carolina against Lindsey Graham, and she said it loud and clear. This is racial bias. It starts there. So I'm going to probably really frustrate some people about this. When someone says to me, she said it to our audience that this is based on racism. This is coming from a white woman who's running in South Carolina. I think she probably has her thumb on the pulse of what this is really all about. I get it. So when I hear that, I think, okay, it's probably realistic that she is plugged in and knows what she's talking about. She's assessed the situation, and she knows it's going to further disenfranchise voters. And so the Missouri GOP is doing their version of it. And again, I have a problem with them doing it. Obviously, but they're playing by the rules that are currently in place. They're in power, so they can further dictate the rules. I'm saying we as progressive liberal Democrats have to fight this fight in a different way. And so what do we have on the table that we can use? And that, to me, is pretty obvious in this gerrymandering conversation. It means that some of the Democratic states are going to have to make the decision that they may have to redistrict to hold off. Because, listen, this is the problem. If we don't do it and they hold on to Congress in the midterms, that means that they could very likely, if we were to win the presidential election in 2028, they not certify it. That's how serious it is. So I'm tired of the people out there that are keyboard warriors saying, "Oh, we can't do this." Mind your business in your own. I'm tired of that. Go away or get involved and fight rather than fighting with me about it. They're going to further disenfranchise people in Missouri. How in the hell can we sit back if we have any concern about our country in one state and go, well, that's what they're doing over there, we're not going to get involved? We all have, I personally believe we should be calling on our governors and state legislatures in states that are blue-led states, and saying we've got to fight this as hard. We can't allow them to redistrict and gerrymander us out of taking back Congress, the House of Representatives, because if they hold on to the House, that's the thing that I keep telling everybody. So we have to start now. We can't wait 5 months. We have to do it now. In case, and let me just put this out here, in case the Trump administration decides to take this as a case to the Supreme Court to say that these states, meaning blue states, aren't allowed to do it, and then it gets tied up in court. Henry's nodding his head like, yep. They go to the Supreme Court and they say that, or they go to a federal court and say that because of these reasons, blah, 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 these states should not be allowed because they're doing it the wrong way, blah, 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 blah. So they have standing because they're Republicans that are in the states. They take it it goes through the federal court system, it goes to the Supreme Court, and it sits on the Supreme Court's docket. They take it, but they don't really hear it long enough to prevent it from being something that goes into play. And then they take control of the media message, meaning the Republicans, saying that the Supreme Court is looking to block the Democrats from cheating and rigging this is what's going to happen. So we can't wait for this. Democratic leaders need to get on this now. All of us are Democratic leaders. We need to get on it now. And if you're not on board with that, then shut the hell up. If you're not on board with us fighting hard like this and bringing a sledgehammer to this fight, then just shut the hell up. I really don't want to hear from you because you're not contributing to the success. All you're doing is whining about what's not right. I'm at least trying to provide some solutions. We are all here trying to provide solutions, a way forward. And this is where we have the opportunity to draw a line in the sand. And I'm very, very passionate about this. And the reason I'm passionate about it is because I do not want to see us, if we have the opportunity to take back the House of Representatives, that we let this slip away, we don't do it, and then we end up going back, well, gosh, we should have taken, no, just do it. Missouri's already at 6, they're trying to get to 7. And then if Texas gets their way, if Abbott gets their way in the state of Texas and they get 5 more, that's 6 seats, y'all. Are you counting with me, or are you just busy whining about, oh, Chew, why don't you talk about this? That's 6 seats. Okay, we can't fix the Electoral College. We can't fix any of this garbage if we don't get back the House of Representatives starting now. So that's why I'm passionate about this, because we'll mess around and this fool will be he'll end up losing the election, or whoever runs will lose the election, but the House will be in the hands of the Republicans and they won't certify it. Then you'll look back and go, I guess Chew was right about, maybe we should have fought on this then. All right, guys, before we take a quick break, here are a couple things to do this weekend in and around Chicago. The big granddaddy of them all this weekend that's already taking place and going on is Lollapalooza. Lollapalooza is the thing. It is what's happening. It is definitely by good measure taking up what's going on in the central part of downtown Chicago. And that's going to be in Grant Park, as you guys may know if you don't know. Another opportunity to get out and about and take advantage of a few things in Memorial Park will be Jeff Fest. So that's taking place as well. The 24th Annual Arts and Music Festival in Memorial Park. That's 4822 North Long. And then still part of Lollapalooza is the after party with Chris Seeley that's taking place 222 West Ontario this evening from 10 p.m. to 4 in the morning. So make your way over there. There's a lot that's going to be happening. There's a Sky Affair house music party. So a lot of house music is going on in and around the city of Chicago. Don't know if that's your vibe or not, but it's definitely one of the things that's happening. All right, let's take a quick break, Henry. The number is 773-763-9278. This is Choose Views on the Credo mobile phone and text line, and we will be right back.
Save big on everything for your next project when you shop at Menards. Open the door to huge savings with a new Ideal garage door. Choose from our large in-stock selection or design the perfect garage door for your home using our free design program. Visit us today in store or on Menards.com and get an Ideal garage door that's right for you. Plus, check out the weekly flyer for all the great deals happening now.
Save big money at Menards.
Millions of Americans take medicine like Ozempic and Zepbound. Many of them are overpaying by thousands of dollars a year. These GLP-1 medications for diabetes, weight loss, and more may not always be covered by your insurance, but GoodRx can help. GoodRx helps you save every month on prescriptions at over 70,000 pharmacies nationwide. Best of all, it's free to use. Check GoodRx to save on GLP-1s. Just go to GoodRx.com/GLP. That's GoodRx.com/GLP. GoodRx is not insurance, but can be used instead of insurance, including Medicare and other federal and state-funded programs.
You're listening to WCPT 820. Here's the latest Chicago weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. We'll see areas of smoke and haze at times here for today. Otherwise, mostly sunny skies with a high in the mid-70s. Winds out of the northeast around 5 to 15 miles per hour. Then for tonight, partly cloudy, although near 61. By Saturday, sunshine, high of 80 degrees. Sunday, mostly sunny skies, a high of 82. Monday, we'll see plenty of blue skies and sun, high of 84. That's your latest Chicago weather update.
Currently, it's 66.
This is WCPT 820, where facts matter. You're listening to Choose Views with Richard Chu on WCPT 820, Chicago's progressive talk.
It's the first time that, even though we all know that Donald Trump is a lying liar who lies, but his people have never really been on the receiving end in their minds of a lie about something that they were so invested in. So it's not making sense, right? To Piers Morgan's analogy that he was leading them to water. Well, yes, he's leading them to water and leaving them thirsty, but now he's telling them to drink sand and that there was no water in the first place. What do you mean? And you're stupid for believing me when I told you that there was water where I led you. And that is not making sense to them. In MAGA world, the MAGA math isn't mathing for them, and they can't seem to reconcile it. Now, what was also interesting about that Washington Post poll was that not only was he underwater with Republicans in general on this issue, he's underwater with MAGA Republicans on this issue. And this is probably the first time that he's been this far underwater in polling with his own base. The Daily Beast had a story that said that there were those inside the White House, unnamed sources, that were concerned that his crowds next month, when he goes on this big, beautiful betrayal bill tour to try to sell that, which is grossly unpopular, that his crowd size might be smaller because people are upset with him about the Epstein thing. And we all know that the size of crowds makes a difference to Donald Trump. They even used a number. They said if 5% of Donald Trump's base becomes disillusioned or cynical about him, that they're cooked. So they are concerned about this. So is it something that is a political issue that the average American going into midterms is worried about because it affects their everyday lives? No. But what does impact people are things like the budget bill, which his own people will be paying a price for. So he's betrayed them with this bill that passed in order to enrich billionaires. And if you start injecting into their mindset, well, wait a minute, if he's lying to us about that, what else is he lying to us about? And at the Seneca Project, we even put out an ad. We're going to be going after Donald Trump when he's on these tours, calling it the big, beautiful betrayal, questioning that. Because once MAGA starts to question that, then it begins to unravel. And that's what we're starting to see. And his own people inside the White House are concerned about it, as they should be.
That's Tara Setmeyer, who is talking about Epstein, Trump, of course, in the big, ugly bill, big, beautiful betrayal. I like that on Chris Hayes' show on MSNBC. It's Friday, so guess what? I wanted to lead in with that because our good friend Karen Byrne from TruBlu Politics podcast is not sitting with us in the studio, but she's sitting with us somewhere on the planet. Good morning, Karen, and welcome to the show.
Good morning. Good morning.
I thought you might like that.
That was a great, yes, I really, truly appreciate that. And of course, as we know from Stormy Daniels, from South Park, his peenie is teeny weeny too.
I knew. See, listen. I was when I first saw the clip that we had here at the station. I was like, "Oh boy, I know exactly who I'm going to play that with."
Go there immediately.
Well, listen. I like what Tara calls it, the big, beautiful betrayal, because that's exactly what it is. And I know that so many people are. Listen, I tied this all together for a reason. Governor Wallace's clip at the beginning of the show about how the bill is ugly, how the bill is terrible, and Republicans are not doing a doggone thing in their districts to talk about it. If they were so proud of it, Karen, if you and I had passed a bill like this and we were proud of it, we would be holding town halls during this session that we're at home. We'd be talking about it. We'd be out and about. I think it's the right thing to do. I've been saying it for months now. Democrats go into the districts of Republicans and steal their candy. And this is Tara's right on point. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Oh, no, that's okay. No, 100%. And what you were saying earlier, yes, that they need to go in and that they need to be in their messaging about this now, because of course the Republicans set it up so that they don't all this stuff from the big ugly bill doesn't really hit until after the midterms. So Democrats absolutely, and I'm not seeing it in the media. Granted, I am not watching the media as much as I used to, but they need to be going and they need to be telling people this is what is going to happen. This is why you may not be feeling it right this second, although there are already reports of hospitals closing in rural areas and people having, if you have an emergency in a rural area, you're 80 miles away from the nearest hospital.
Yep.
So,
Karen, you saw about the business. We talked about a Detroit Axle, the company in Detroit that's after parts company, aftermarket parts company. They're going out of bit. They're closing. 102 people are losing their jobs, and that's because of the tariffs primarily.
Right.
But then this is where the connective tissues are in a negative way. So now those people may more than probably will lose their medical coverage. And if they are in an area where a hospital closes because of this bill, the two combined create that much pressure on our system as a country. So do you see the connection I'm making there? Is that a reach? Or
Yeah. No, not at all. I mean, it is going to have a domino effect, and where it affects one area, jobs, like you said, eloquently said, where it affects jobs, it's going to affect healthcare. It's going to affect, how people can pay for their daily costs, and on and on and on. Of course, it's going to have a ripple effect, and if people aren't already feeling it, they're going to be feeling it. And that is exactly why the Republicans in Texas and, as you mentioned, in Missouri are working to cheat and rig the system so that they can pick up seats to protect Donald Trump. And that is something that people need to be very aware of. Why, if it was such a beautiful thing and if Donald Trump was doing such great work, why in the world would they have to run around and gerrymander and redistrict?
That's right. If they were that good, at winning, then they would be able to say, no, we don't need to change the rules. We don't need to do that at all because we're that good. We're that type of badass that we don't need to change the rules to favor us. And here's the thing. This is why I'm so just passionate about this this redistricting and gerrymandering in most of the cases. Just like Dr. Annie Andrews said yesterday, it is going to impact voters of color first. And it's going to by disenfranchising, bless you, Henry, of voters of those communities, it's going to make it just adds to adds fuel to this already burning out of control fire. And so I don't take it from anybody when they say, well, why are you talking about gerrymandering? Why are you talking about that the Democratic governors should look at redistricting in their states? Because they should. We have to fight differently. Yep. It's that simple.
That's right. Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, my goodness, if Democrats, and I really do think the Democrats are figuring it out. And, and the fact is that there are more Democrats than there are Republicans in this country. And that is another reason that they're doing this. They know that. They know that. The numbers came out and they know that.
Let's talk about that for a second. I sent you an article. I don't know how much you had a chance to look at it about the media was wrong. There are more Democrats and Republicans in the United States. And that, to me, is also one of the other reasons why Democrats have to take that. How do I want to put it? They have to be willing to recognize there are more of us numerically than there are of Republicans, particularly Republicans who are voting in this crazy way right now. Now, I understand that a certain number of Republicans, a certain number of people voted for Trump, but the question ultimately comes down to how many of the people who voted for Trump that are Democrats and didn't vote for the Democratic candidate. I mean, that's another conversation for a different day. But we have to turn the heat up to give Democrats more to vote for. We understand that, but at the same time, we have to remind the country that we have a larger block than they do.
Yes, absolutely. And so it goes along with, we have been saying this forever, there are more of us than there are of them, which is why they have to do what they do always do, voter purging, cross-check, gerrymandering, redistricting. And that is, and so I really do think that it has less to do with the messaging and more to do with dirty tricks. And we know that Russia was involved in micro-targeting in 2016, and we know that they were at it again in 2024. They
haven't
always
stopped.
They have not stopped, and they work to divide all of us on the left. And this is what we have. I mean, I had a conversation. I'm going to take us down a little different path here, but I had a conversation with my dad, and he was very upset about the situation in Gaza. And I think what people are missing is the people that are, were supporting, Kamala Harris, and we're not going after, Joe Biden for doing what U.S. policy has dictated for decades, is that when Israel, our ally in the Middle East and the only democracy there, is attacked, U.S. policy, not Joe Biden's policy, is to provide aid. Okay, and so we had a whole conversation, and my dad was like, "Well, I think we're just going to have to disagree." And I said, "But Dad," I said, "You're acting as though I don't care about the situation in Gaza, but I also was very clear-eyed about how I spoke about the situation, because I knew that all they needed to do, as they did in 2016, was peel off just enough votes."
Yep.
In order to get Trump reinstalled.
Yep.
And I knew that it was going to be exponentially worse for the people in Gaza, the children that are starving there. I knew that was going to happen. And so I think that is the thing, that we cannot be fooled again like that.
Nope.
People, we all have our hearts in the right place, right? All of us in the Democratic Party, Democratic voters, we all have empathy and compassion and are not happy with what happened. Okay. But it is not so cut and dry. It is not so black and white. And what you need to understand is, why are they doing this? Why was it happening now? Why did Netanyahu move the security away from the Gaza border?
Yep.
Why then did that happen? Understanding, too, people, be really clear. These people that want to do dirty work and stay in power and enrich themselves, Hamas, whether it's the billionaires of Hamas that were sitting in Qatar when that happened, or Bibi Netanyahu, they rely on each other, right?
Yeah, they do. And here's the thing, that when we talk about those that are in power, that want to keep power, and we bring it back home, this is a good example right now. I mean, this Missouri thing is clearly the governor of Missouri and any other governors that are Republican governors, they want to stay in power. But do they want to stay in power for the benefit of the people, or for the benefit of their own pocketbook? And that just goes right up the ladder, and it can be a conversation about what international leaders are doing, because I believe in my heart, unapologetically, that the Democratic form of leadership, imperfect as it is, still outruns the Republican or the more conservative side, because the conservative, the word by itself, by its nature, wants to, take away things, prevent things, rather than allowing communities and people to flourish. What's happening in Gaza is an example. Whether you are a supporter of either side, whatever side, it is ultimately about one group wanting to take away from another group so that they can remain in power. And that's that's not to oversimplify it, but it is to make more, to actually put more light on the fact that what we're dealing with here in the United States right now, we cannot let this go unchecked with regard to this redistricting and gerrymandering. It cannot It cannot be something that we sit back and go, somebody else is going to fix this. Somebody else is going to is at the tip of the spear of this. Because like I said earlier, Karen, and I know you probably heard this, that if they hold on to the House of Representatives and we were to win the 2028 election on a federal level, I strongly believe that the Republicans won't certify the election. And that is what's at risk. And I'm sick and tired of people who are pundits, who are keyboard warriors, sitting back saying the Democrats don't need to, this is what's crazy. The Democrats need to fight differently. The Democrats never come prepared. The Democrats are, and the minute that we start talking about the Democrats, all right, great. Let's bring the sledgehammers out. Let's open the trunk and bring them out. Let's get to work. Let's fight this fight differently. The minute that happens, then you've got these other people who are like, but, the Democrats need to check themselves. They're not playing. What are you
calling us deplorables?
I mean, but
they're calling us weird.
It's like, go home.
Yeah.
Just go home.
Come on now.
Just go away. Go away.
I mean, oh God, Richard. I mean, it's just we have got to. Yes, Democrats need to. And with Newsom, coming out and different Democratic governors coming out and saying, we're going to do the same thing.
Yeah.
And I mean,
because it's legal. It's not illegal. And I don't know if you heard me say this, Karen. It's not illegal. It's what they're doing is legal. It's cheating in the sense that from a decorum standpoint, but if they're going to say that they're not going to follow the rules of decorum, if you will, then we shouldn't either. Because what's at risk is, to my point earlier, if this were to go to the Supreme, they could very easily say that that the Democrats are doing it the wrong way, and if we wait too long, then it gets tied up in court, and we don't get the impact of making the decisions to do it now. So Democrats,
that's right.
We need to get on board and make this happen and be done with it, so that we don't have to worry. And we send a message also. I think the other thing that does, if we want to talk about Democratic leadership, Karen, is that we send a message.
Yeah, decorum be damned. We're fighting fascism. I mean, if people don't understand that at this point, and don't understand, too, we have got to just step back for a minute and just, seriously, we have been manipulated. People in our party have been manipulated to vote against their own best interests.
Yep.
Okay, and this is where we are, and nothing has gotten better because of Donald Trump. And he can stand up there, everybody out there, say, well, Donald Trump said that, yes, the people in Gaza are starving. And, yes, this is, that he's criticizing Netanyahu. This really, we're not going to be fooled by that. And the media is pushing that narrative as well. I mean, and that doesn't matter. This man is trying to do everything in his power to deflect from the Epstein files.
Do you think
from what he promised his constituents? And Scotland, I mean, can we talk about Scotland?
Was that a great article that I sent you?
Yes.
You guys haven't heard. You guys may not know about this, but go ahead, Karen. I'll let you take the baton on this.
The media everywhere else is on point, and the people are on point. The press conference where the bagpipes were out and the sign here. I'm just going to read you this one. Get out, get out, nasty little man, baby. And I mean this. Small hands, big lies. I mean, oh my God, sleazy creep. Not welcome in Scotland. Get out. Get out.
Yeah, and listen, I love the Scottish. I love Scotland. It is one of my favorite places to travel. I'm thankful and blessed that I've been able to go there 5 or 6 times now in my life, and I enjoy it. But I also love this what Karen and I are talking about, guys. To be fair to everyone, and if you guys want this article, just send me an email and I'll send it to you. But the Trump tried to hold a press conference in Scotland, but was drowned out by bagpipes. I couldn't play the clip because it wasn't audible enough for you guys to hear. But it's just a great story written by our good friend Sarah Jones at The Daily. And it talks about the fact that they had no patience for his garbage and his BS, and the bagpipes basically drowned him out when he was trying to have his little man baby press conference. Which, by the way, y'all, this was a business meeting for Donald Trump, a business trip that we paid for with our tax dollars. So you all are running around whining about Burisma and Joe Biden, but actively in front of your doggone eyes, Donald Trump goes to his golf course, and it cost us. It just keeps costing you money, Republicans. Sitting back going, he's going to make America great again. He's going to bring jobs home. He's going to lower the cost of groceries and all these things that you all lied to yourselves about when you knew it was about not electing a woman who happened to be black and East Asian and that's married to a Jewish dude. That's what it was really all about.
That's what it was.
Lying to yourselves, folks. Whether you be on
the groceries are not cheaper. They're going up. I dropped a boatload on, two bags of groceries, $150, the cost of things is not going down. Gas prices have not gone down. The cost of eggs are basically where they were prior to the election.
But people aren't paying. They don't want to pay attention to that. They want to talk about. No. But listen, here's the thing. I wanted to ask you this question, and I want to get your thoughts on this before we wrap up. So we've got all this going on. The bill is awful. Democrats need to be out yelling about it to other districts. We know we talked about that. I wanted to ask you this question in all clarity. Do you think, and it's a somewhat loaded question, that the Epstein situation is a distraction, or do you feel that Democrats should be leaning into it?
Absolutely.
Or should we?
Absolutely.
All things matter. The bill matters. Tariffs matter.
Yes.
And Epstein matter. I think it all matters. What do you think?
All of it. Finish him. Cripple MAGA. Absolutely. Democrats should be going after this like nothing else. We don't have the majority. Anything that is happening is going to be hung around the necks of the Republicans. They have to be out there messaging about the big ugly bill, and they need to be demanding that the files are released. We don't care who's in there. As far as if it's a if it's Democratic donors, like somebody, I was listening. I think it was John Fugelsang last night, and he was talking about, there's a lot of people that don't want it released because there are Democratic donors, and there's, people, in the Republican Party, probably, whatever. I don't care. Democratic donors, Democratic politicians, Republicans. I don't care who it is. If they're in the files, if they were raping children, if they were sex trafficking, women, the reports, and this is not new, this has been out there. If people were paying attention, listen to the way he speaks about his own daughter. Of course he was abusing other women. And that he wasn't related to. Of course he was raping children. Of course he was doing that. He's talking about having his employees stolen away in the spa that offers massages by teenagers. What do you think is going on? I mean, MAGA, wake up. Of course, this is absolutely something that Democrats need to be taking full advantage of and demanding.
Cannot let go of it. I mean, obviously the bill. Listen, we can walk and chew gum and what I don't know. Let's think of a third thing. So those are three big items. We can walk, chew gum, and wink all at the same time. So big, ugly, beautiful, big bill betrayal, tariffs, and Epstein. All three at the same time. Why not? Walk, chew gum, and wink.
Exactly. Get yourselves organized. Some of y'all should be out there doing town halls and red districts explaining to people what's about to come and why nothing has changed for them.
Yep.
And why their hospitals are closing, right?
Yep. That's
this
right.
This is not us. That's them.
That's right. We try, and we didn't try to tell you. We told you this is what was going to happen.
We told you. We told you.
We did not try to tell you. Man, Karen, it goes by fast, and you and I just race for the finish line every Friday. But it's always
messy. I'm sorry. Yeah.
No.
I get messy, but yeah.
It's always a joy. It's always a joy. All right. So listen,
Anyway.
last little bit. So that folks don't forget, how can they find you and all the good work that you're doing with your podcast and everything else?
Well, you can go to follow me and Anita, TruBlu Politics Podcast. We are on Blue Sky. We are on Facebook. We are on Instagram, and you can get us wherever you get your podcasts, and also YouTube. We have a channel there. So that is where you can find me, and I am KI Resists on the social medias. On Blue Sky, and where else? Oh, on Instagram,
but
not on Facebook, and Substack. I have a Substack. Yep.
See, I remembered. I remembered. All right.
Thank you.
All right, Ki Resist. Thanks for being with us on this Friday. Appreciate your support and your contribution as always.
Thank you.
And we will talk next week. Have a good weekend. Okay.
All right. Thank you. You too.
All right.
Love you guys.
All right.
Have a wonderful
You
weekend.
too.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Racing for the finish line. That's what Karen and I do. Listen, guys, quick as we wrap up this hour. Today on Live, Local, and Progressive, Joan Esposito will be taking your calls and talking to Hal Sparks, host of the Hal Sparks radio program on WCPT, and Mark Turcotte, Illinois poet laureate and distinguished writer in residence at DePaul University, along with Chicago artist Tony Fitzpatrick. Live, Local, and Progressive, weekdays 2 to 5 p.m. on WCPT, Chicago's progressive talk for 20 years. Driving it home with Patty Vasquez tonight. He'll be joined by guest co-host Dan Schaefer, and their guests will include Veronica Garza Martinez, candidate for state representative of the 70th District. Ellie Krogh will be with her as well, transgender activist, author, lawyer, radio host, and author of Being Ellen, A Second Chance at Life, and Wisconsin Lieutenant Governor and candidate for Wisconsin Governor Sarah Rodriguez. Driving it home with Patty Vasquez, weekdays 5 to 7 here on WCPT, AM 820, Heartland Signal website, tune in, YouTube, and Facebook. And next Monday on the show, we'll have Sarah Jones, managing editor and co-publisher of Politics USA and The Daily, and Mike Nellis will be with us, Democratic strategist and former advisor to Kamala Harris. Looking forward to talking with Mike next Monday. All right, guys, and Sarah, of course. Let's take a quick break. The number, of course, is 773-763-9278. Credo mobile phone and text line. This is Choose Views, and we'll be right back.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
800-708-3091. 800-708-3091. 800-708-3091. That's 800-708-3091.
Every 40 seconds, a child is reported missing. That's 2,000 children every single day. It's a heart-wrenching reality that we can no longer ignore. Find the Children is a non-profit organization dedicated to helping find missing kids. You can be a part of their mission by donating your unwanted vehicle, running or not. Call 1-800-775-5622. We guarantee that you will receive the maximum tax deduction. We provide fast, free pickup with 24-hour response. Call 1-800-775-5622. Find the Children provides crucial resources to help find missing children and educational materials to teach kids how to recognize and avoid predators. Our recovery programs have a proven track record of reuniting kids with their families. It's time to act. Donate your unwanted or unused car. Help us build a world where every child is safe. Pick up the phone and call 1-800-775-5622. Together, we can bring these kids home safely. This advertisement was paid for by Cars R Us and Find the Children.
Viking, dedicated to creating travel experiences for the thinking person, with programs designed for cultural enrichment on board and on shore. Discover more at Viking.com.
AP News, I'm Marcela Sanchez. A federal judge is extending temporary protected status for more than 60,000 people from Central America and Nepal. Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem had ended the program after determining that conditions in their home countries no longer warranted protections. And President Trump has moved today's tariff deadline to August 7th. U.S. futures fell 0.9% after the president also announced tariff rates of up to 41% for imports from dozens of countries across the globe. Investors were looking ahead to U.S. payrolls data due out later today. And U.S. Envoy Steve Witkoff is set to inspect food distribution sites in Gaza today. The AP's Charles de Ledesma reports Israel's latest aid efforts in Gaza fall short of meeting the need.
Information on hunger-related deaths has pressured Israel to let more aid into the Gaza Strip. This week, Israel paused fighting in parts of Gaza and airdropped food, but aid groups and Palestinians say the changes have only been incremental and not enough to reverse what food experts say is a worst-case scenario of famine unfolding in the war-ravaged territory. The new measures have brought an uptick in the number of aid trucks entering Gaza, but almost none of them reach UN warehouses for distribution. Instead, nearly all of the trucks are stripped of their cargo by crowds that overwhelm them on the roads as they drive from the borders. Many people have also been killed trying to grab the aid. I'm Charles de Ledesma.
And strong storms pummeled the U.S. East Coast Thursday, causing flash floods from New York to Philadelphia. Some train lines were stopped, flights were delayed, roads were closed, and many drivers had to be rescued. And in El Salvador, the government has approved constitutional changes that will now allow indefinite presidential re-election and extends presidential terms to 6 years. This is AP News. The NFL paid tribute to the victims of a shooting outside of its headquarters before the first game of the 2025 season.
The NFL season kicked off at the annual Hall of Fame game with a moment of silence for the 4 people killed earlier this week by a shooter who was targeting league headquarters in New York. The gunman also wounded a league employee in the shooting Monday night. NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell told NBC he visited the employee for an hour on Wednesday and said he was improving. There was increased security Thursday night around Tom Benson Stadium, where Eric Allen, Jared Allen, Antonio Gates, and Sterling Sharp will be inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame on Saturday. I'm Gethin Coolbaugh.
Justin Timberlake says he's been diagnosed with Lyme disease. He shared the news in a post on Instagram saying he had considered ending his tour when diagnosed, but was glad he kept going. More on this and other stories at apnews.com. I'm Marcela Sanchez.
This is 820 AM, WCPT Willow Springs, and streaming worldwide at WCPT820.com. We are Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter. Now, your WCPT 820 weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. We'll see areas of smoke and haze at times here for today. Otherwise, mostly sunny skies with a high in the mid-70s. Winds out of the northeast around 5 to 15 miles per hour. Then for tonight, partly cloudy, although near 61. By Saturday, sunshine, high of 80 degrees. Sunday, mostly sunny skies, a high of 82. Monday, we'll see plenty of blue skies and sun, high of 84. That's your latest Chicago weather update.
Currently, it's 68.
I thought I'd book a trip to Italy to celebrate retiring.
We didn't speak Italian.
We didn't then. We do now. Because of Babbel.
Babbel is the refreshingly easy-to-use app for learning a new language. Babbel uses immersive lessons to teach you vocabulary and grammar in a way that sticks. Save up to 50% on your Babbel subscription when you sign up at Babbel.com. That's Babbel.com. Babbel.com.
You're listening to WCPT 820, because facts matter. He's not here to yell. He's here to inform and maybe stir the pot. This is Chew's Views with Richard Chew on WCPT 820.
I do stir the pot. I love that. It's why have a pot on the stove if you're not going to stir it? If you stir it, if you've made chili and you decide to heat it up, and you don't stir it, what's going to happen? It's going to burn, right? So I'd rather stir up the pot so we can remain active and remain in motion. You know, it's easier to keep moving than it is to get moving. It is. That's the purpose of momentum. So I want to have momentum for us as we move forward. Because the other side, sure as hell, is trying to tear down things that are important to us, that are important to all of us in this country. We are always blessed, and I make sure to pay homage to being blessed, to have some of the great people as guests on our show. We have our regular folks and regular voices like Karen Byrne, who was just with us. But we also had the opportunity to talk to some really, really phenomenal people that are working with organizations that keep us moving, that keep the momentum going, and they probably stir the pot a little bit themselves. With us this morning from the Center for American Progress, excuse me, sorry about the coughs this morning, guys, is the Director of Health Policy at the Center for American Progress, also known as Natasha Murphy. Good morning, Ms. Murphy, and welcome to Choose Views.
Good morning, Richard. Thank you so much for having me. Happy Friday.
Happy Friday is right. So tell me you are a pot stirrer.
Oh, absolutely. These days you have to be.
Yes, you do. I saw a clip, a video that you posted recently talking about a very, very big, important issue. We'll get to that in a second, but let our viewers and listeners know a little bit about Natasha Murphy, the work that you're doing, a little bit about your background, and then let's get into a topic that's a big one right now.
Yes. So good morning, everyone. I'm Natasha Murphy. I'm the Health Policy Director at the Center for American Progress, which is an independent think tank in D.C., and we are all about changing the country through informed policy and, most importantly, concerted action. It's not enough just to have great ideas. Those ideas have to be put into practice to change people's lives. And so I focus on ways to make health care and health coverage more affordable and accessible for hardworking Americans. And it has been a very busy year. Vital programs.
60th anniversary, Natasha, of Medicaid is and it's under attack. As was quoted in an article written by one of your colleagues, Andrea, is it Dukas, that said
yes.
that said the American's healthcare system is imperfect. Too many people lack coverage. Health care is too difficult to afford, and access to care is inequitable. But for 60 years, a key source of health care coverage for 1 in 5 Americans, that's 20%, is Medicaid, and it's made tremendous strides toward addressing these challenges. And now that is under unprecedented levels of attack. Okay, so let's talk about that. Let's talk first about the history of it, and let's talk about it in terms of how Medicaid has helped so many people, and then let's just talk about this attack that the Trump regime, let's just call it as it is placing on Medicaid.
Sure. So as a little bit of background, like you mentioned, 60 years ago this week, President Johnson signed into law the legislation that would create the Medicaid program. And so Medicaid is really designed to provide health insurance coverage to low-income individuals and families, children, people with disabilities, as well as pregnant women. And, you know, over the past 60 years, it has truly been a lifeline for people across various stages of life. Right now, Medicaid covers half of all U.S. births and more than 71 million Americans. The program is the largest payer of long-term care and behavioral health services. It is a financial lifeline to so many of our rural hospitals and has been a pretty critical force in helping to close the coverage gap, particularly among racial minorities.
And the numbers are staggering, but not in a negative way. The numbers are staggering how many people it helps. I mean, to use the figure 1 in 5 or 20% of Americans, that's a huge number of people of all walks of life, of all, you know, no disrespect, shapes, forms, and sizes. It helps it literally, Medicaid, this is how I look at it, and you know, correct me if I'm wrong or get me back on the rails. It literally does help every American in this country. And the reason I say that it does is because we are 1 or 2 degrees of separation away from somebody that benefits from the program, whether it be a friend of yours that's mother is on it, or a colleague or coworker of yours whose father or child is on it, and you know somebody, even though you may not be directly taking advantages of the benefits of the program, you know someone that does, and their lives are probably better because of it. And I'm a dotted line kind of person. That then impacts you in a positive way. Am I crazy or what?
You are spot on this morning, Richard. Correct. We all know someone who is on Medicaid or has been on Medicaid or is benefiting from the features of this program. Like you mentioned, Medicaid provides care across all walks and stages of life. Over the past few months, we have been really trying to educate folks that, it's not just for kids. It's not just for, individuals with disabilities. Like I mentioned, it is the biggest source of funding for long-term care. And so as the population ages and so many of us grapple with, taking care of parents or grandparents, many of their home and community-based services or many of their nursing home services are being financed by the Medicaid program.
I think that a lot of people look at this, and this is going to sound like I'm going with what I think, but also what some people have shared with me, that there's a stigma attached to Medicaid, is that you're receiving a form of assistance, so there's something wrong with you, either economically or physically or physiologically or mentally. And because of that, a lot of people want to, Americans run around, and I criticize our country, but I love our country at the same time. I think we can do both. But a lot of times people run around, and you probably deal with this more as a professional, thinking that stigma of being, too proud to acknowledge that there are things that we've needed assistance with. And that, I then think, is a perception that gives people the perception that something that, well, maybe we really don't need that because those people that have it. And I don't think that's really necessary. Am I off base here, or is there something that you hear or see out there when it comes to this conversation?
Yes, the stigma aspect has certainly, been attached to the program for years, but I think we saw a reinvigoration of that stigma in the past few months. There has been so much talk around, honestly, misunderstanding around what exactly Medicaid benefits are. Republicans have made it seem like folks are somehow sitting at home deciding not to work so that they can collect Medicaid. But let me be clear, this is a program that pays providers for health care. So no one is receiving a check, no one is receiving physical, tangible monetary benefits from being enrolled on the Medicaid program. And so that stigma has really been warped into this perspective that it's somehow, making people lazy or the certain level of self-entitlement. And that's really what was undergirding this legislative push to enact the largest cuts to the Medicaid program that we've seen in its 60-year history.
And that, to me, goes back to this lack of understanding. I'm merging some thoughts here, Natasha. Civics. People being aware of how our government works, not just our federal government, but our state government, because there's an integration between between Medicaid and Medicare, and they're cousins. I mean, they make a point. They make the point of we have to be here as a backstop for people who have had things happen to them that were not of their making, and to dispel the bad stigma that it's people sitting around not doing anything. I mean, I haven't met anyone, and maybe you can shed some light on this, that wants to be in a situation where they are dependent on something else. Their circumstances, their choices in some cases, let's be honest, may have put them there. But as a society that wants to say it's humane and wants to be a great society, you would think that those support systems and those mechanisms would remain in place to protect all of us.
Precisely, yes. The Medicaid program really is a part of the country's safety net. And like we mentioned, the fact that it's 1 in 5 people, it speaks to the breadth of the size of the program, but also the critical support that it provides. And we have done a lot of myth busting in the past few months, trying to get people to understand just how many people rely on the program, and also making it very clear that, nearly all of the people on Medicaid who are able to work do so. That's another element that folks tend not to be aware of. There are so many individuals, hardworking Americans and families, who rely on the program, even having a source of gainful employment where their employer may not offer health insurance as a benefit.
We're talking with Natasha Murphy, Director of Health Policy at the Center for American Progress, and we appreciate you being with us. I watched one of your videos, and it was just so energy-filled and so passionate in your delivery of it, and certainly the content was spot on. So I want to ask you this question, kind of a nerdy question. Why are you so passionate about this and your work and the path that you've charted? Why are you so passionate about this?
Yes, so I have always been interested in healthcare, but particularly on the policy side. I recognize the fact that policy is social change at scale. And as much as I love our clinicians and the fantastic work that they do, I think that there's so much opportunity for impact that larger level, and that's what drew me to the health policy space. And I also recognize that health insurance or health care in the United States is incredibly expensive. You know, medical debt and health care costs are one of the leading drivers of bankruptcy and financial insecurity for Americans across all walks of life. And so I know just how important health insurance and health coverage is in not only maintaining physical and mental health, but also financial health. And so I've made it my professional mission to make sure that I am trying to strengthen the U.S. health coverage system as much as it can to really give people the opportunity to thrive and live full, bountiful lives.
And that's so commendable, and I don't want to sound preachy, but that's what we want from the folks who are working with organizations like you and doing the things that you are doing. We will be talking in the 7:30 hour to the Director of Illinois Department of Public Health, and Dr. Samir Vohra. And so the reason I'm introducing that to our conversation is I'd like to know, and certainly have our listeners and folks know, what are some of the states, what are some of the states, or who are some of the states, which are some of the states, I can't get my words right this morning, Natasha, that you see have some of the biggest issues coming at them if they are already not there. And we've heard about hospitals that are closing and such, but what are some of the states that are you think are going to struggle the most with this big betrayal of a bill?
Yes, I will say, honestly, all 50 of them.
Okay.
The bill included nearly $1 trillion in cuts to the Medicaid program, and there is no state in our great nation that has the resources to fill that type of gap. And so what so many of us in the health policy community are concerned about, as states are now forced to make some incredibly difficult choices, there's concerns around Medicaid benefit cuts. There are quite a few services that are actually optional under federal law. So think adult dental, also home and community-based services. And as states try to plug some of those gaps that are resulting from the loss of federal funding, there's concerns that programs or benefits like that will be cut. And so I do not envy our state-level public health and insurance officials, because they have quite the road ahead of them in the coming months and years.
Have you had conversations with any members of Congress in terms of their thoughts about the bill, whether they be those on the left or on the right, as it relates to what they voted for and what they didn't vote for?
On the right, I haven't had any personal conversations, but I think we are starting to see a little bit of buyer's remorse, as well as attempts to frame the legislation as something other than cuts, which is ultimately inaccurate. The decisions that were made, the law that was signed, does represent a cut to the Medicaid program. On the left, I know that there has been legislation that's introduced in an effort to actually claw back some of these cuts. There is a desire from the Democratic Party to protect Americans from these substantial cuts, as well as the subsequent coverage losses. And so I think across kind of the, at least on the Democratic side of things, as well as, interestingly enough, we're starting to see the insurance and hospital industries become a lot more vocal about spending, the remainder of the time between now and the midterm elections, trying to continue to lobby and advocate for harm reduction, essentially, as it relates to some of the provisions in the bill.
So that's an interesting thought, or at least an interesting answer, because there are the buyer's remorse part is what I think a lot of the public isn't hearing necessarily from Republican, congressional leaders who voted for this. But one of the things that is starting to peak up, as you mentioned, and I see it as well, is the number of voters in different communities that may have voted for the Republican district representative, and now they're seeing that the harm is coming their way. So, that kind of leads me to the question: what individuals, individual voters, consumers, citizens can be doing right now to impact where we are with this big, beautiful betrayal of a bill?
Yes. So I will say it is August, first day of August, and your House representatives are back home, and your senators will be returning back to their districts shortly. And so I think it's really important that individuals let their voices be heard during this August recess. Feel free to call your district office, reach out to your representative on social media, and let them know that they will be held accountable for their vote right at the end of June, early July, which ultimately passed this piece of legislation that is honestly going to be harmful to the American public. It is so important that elected officials know that, their constituents are aware of what happened in Washington and are committed to holding them accountable. Beyond that, for individuals who are on Medicaid, it is going to be really, really important that they make sure that all of their contact information is updated with their Medicaid agency. It is going to be more important than ever that they be on the lookout for any type of communications coming from their insurance department or the Medicaid agency as some of these provisions and changes go into effect.
So make sure that you're doing a couple things. Reach out to your congressional leaders in your district and your state over these next few weeks, and be mindful of they deserve a phone call if they voted for this, and if they didn't vote for it, but they're that they still deserve a phone call to let it be known that that voter is paying attention. And secondly, you said to make sure that people have their business in order, have all their details and their contact information and all that in order. And I would add to this, and maybe you can give some added flavor as we wrap up, that they know who their allies are in this conversation, and that those allies may be their doctor, it may be other medical professionals, it may be organizational leaders in their community that can help them navigate things that may be happening on a local level. What are your thoughts about that?
Yes. I know today we were talking about the Medicaid and kind of healthcare aspects of the bill, but there was so much else in that piece of legislation. Historic cuts to the food stamp program and the kind of cascading impacts there. So there are so many entities and advocacy groups that are in coalition trying to undo some of the harms of this legislation. So yes, we are all in this fight collectively, and, there's really power in numbers.
Natasha Murphy, thanks for being with us this morning. Two things. The first one is I'm giving you I'm sitting in my pre-reservation to have you back on the show, because this isn't going to go away unless we all collectively work together, like you said, to make it go away. So we'll definitely want to have your voice be back to talk to our audience all over the country about what you're doing and how individuals can be engaged and partner to solve this. So one, that's my ask. And the second is let folks know how they can find you, how they can get involved, participate in events that you feel will be beneficial to all.
Absolutely. And yes, we'll be glad to join you and your listening audience back to keep them up to date on the latest and greatest. But in the meantime, if individuals are interested in learning more about the research and analysis from the Center for American Progress, please visit us at AmericanProgress.org and sign up for our newsletter.
Absolutely. Well, Natasha, thank you for being with us. We greatly appreciate you being on the show, but more importantly, the hard work that you're doing to, keep the guardrails up for so many Americans. Thanks for being with us this morning.
Thanks for having me.
Have a great day and a good weekend. Bye-bye. Yeah. I say it often, guys. We are blessed to have people like Natasha who are out there fighting the fight, keeping people aware. And follow her. Go to their site and check out what they're doing, and share that with people that you know that may have questions, may need an ally to talk with. This is why we have folks like this on our show, because we want to be able to provide you with access to people that can help either you or someone that you know that may be in need when it comes to these challenges. So we greatly appreciate her being with us. Let's take a quick break, Henry. I know we've got our next guest coming on in a little bit. The number, of course, here is 773-763-9278. This is Choose Views on the Credo Mobile phone and text line, and we'll be right back.
This is the WCPT Moment in Labor. In 2011, 6 Jimmy John's employees in Minneapolis were fired by their franchise-owning company, Mickey Lynn Enterprises, after fighting for paid sick days. This is a common theme in the union-free world of fast food. Over 13 million Americans work in the fast food industry, making an average of $13,500 a year, not even half the average cost of living. 80% of fast food workers have experienced work-related injuries, and only 13% were covered by their employer. A group of employees referred to as the Jimmy John's Six fought for these rights, creating an online campaign, posting a picture of 2 sandwiches saying one of these was made by a healthy employee, the other was made by a sick employee. Can you tell the difference? Too bad, as Jimmy John's workers do not get paid sick days. Help workers win sick days. More than 32 million Americans work a job that does not offer paid sick days. This has been a WCPT Moment in Labor. We're working for your rights.
Still struggling with gas, bloat, constipation, nausea, or diarrhea? Have you tried eliminating foods but felt no change? It's time to call the tummy whisperer, Renee Barish, at Digestive Health Solutions. Renee uses targeted testing to reveal exactly what's happening in your gut. Gut bacteria plays a key role in all your body functions, from cardiovascular regulation to brain function. When the gut is imbalanced, you may experience symptoms that extend beyond the gut, such as anxiety, skin issues, poor sleep, or increased risk for disease. Digestive Health Solution uses advanced testing to identify harmful microbes and evaluate the overall balance of the gut ecosystem. Get insights into your health, digestion, and how your microbiome affects all aspects of your body. Stop suffering. Call Renee now at 847-207-2034 or visit thetummywhisperer.com. That number is 847-207-2034. Let's get you feeling better. The Tummy Whisperer.
You're listening to WCPT 820. Here's the latest Chicago weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. We'll see areas of smoke and haze at times here for today. Otherwise, mostly sunny skies with a high in the mid-70s. Winds out of the northeast around 5 to 15 miles per hour. Then for tonight, partly cloudy, although near 61. By Saturday, sunshine, high of 80 degrees. Sunday, mostly sunny skies, a high of 82. Monday, we'll see plenty of blue skies and sun, high of 84. That's your latest Chicago weather update.
Currently, it's 68.
Alexa, play WCPT.
WCPT from TuneIn.
You're listening to Choose Views with Richard Chu on WCPT 820, Chicago's Progressive Talk.
Hey, guys, welcome back to the show. Of course, 773-763-9278 is our number. I know you guys are holding. We will get to you toward the end of the show. I'm going to do my best to squeeze you in. But as I said earlier, it's kind of health conversation day. I won't say it's healthcare day. It's health conversation day. We just had with us from the Center for American Progress, Natasha Murphy, Director of Health Policy. And we have another director with us, and that would be Samir Vohra, who is the director of the Illinois Department of Public Health. Also a pediatrician and just an overall smart dude that's done his best to make sure that we keep our health programs in the state of Illinois moving forward. Samir, Dr. Vohra, thank you for being with us this morning and welcome to Choose Views.
Well, Richard, thanks so much for having me.
Absolutely. So listen, I always like to do a little introduction from the perspective of our guests. So take a moment and let our audience know a little bit about you, what you're currently doing, and your position with the Department of Health here in Illinois.
Well, Richard, I have the great honor and privilege of being Illinois State Health official appointed by Governor Pritzker 3 years ago today to serve as the director of the Illinois Department of Public Health. As you mentioned, I'm a pediatrician by training, have had the pleasure of born and raised in Chicago, in the Chicagoland area, but have had education sort of throughout the state. And now I have the opportunity with an incredible team at the Illinois Department of Public Health to think about public health throughout the state of Illinois. We run 200 unique programs that span health and really trying to think holistically about ways that we can improve the health of individuals, knowing that, yes, that's healthcare, but there's so many things throughout a community that can improve somebody's health today and kind of prepare them for tomorrow.
Well, listen, guys. Thank you for that, Dr. Vohra. He was also being a little bashful. Let me just let you guys understand the type of leaders that we have in roles like Dr. Vohra said. He has a law degree, he has a bachelor's degree in political science, and he holds a medical doctorate. Okay. So when we hear things like people who are leading our organizations and are taking the position that we want to have smart, competent people in these roles, Dr. Vohra is a representative of that, and I appreciate you for being on the show this morning and also being the leader that you have been. I know that Governor Pritzker had appointed you, and that's largely based on your commitment, to your point, to making sure that we're protecting health and improving lives. I mean, you've said that so many times in things that I've read about you. It's about protecting health and improving lives. And you've really been an advocate, a strong advocate of taking down some of the barriers in our healthcare system, our medical system, if you will, so that more people can be, protected and to live out, to kind of, make that mission happen, haven't you?
Yeah, Richard, no, I appreciate that. And part of, I think, the thing that all of that kind of education has taught me is that there's so much expertise. And that happens, of course, through education, but also the lived expertise, right? The lived experience and really expertise of our communities. And that, when I was practicing pediatrics on the south side of Chicago in Springfield, Illinois, you understand that really to help people, you got to understand their history. You have to understand what is going on in their communities and match the data and information with the stories. And then to a big degree, yes, we have the ability to change and have all these advanced healthcare treatments, but it's really often the underneath foundation that can make somebody healthy, that those structural determinants that some have had a greater privilege than others to do, and really sort of building kind of a tapestry of health. We've gone through big time health challenges over the last 5 years and sort of opened our eyes to saying, yes, mental and behavioral health is about public health. Things like firearm violence prevention are part of public health, and really trying to bring those things together while we continue to maintain the innovation in our healthcare delivery system.
Let's talk about that for a second in terms of firearms. And I know that's been a big proponent of yours, as well as the governor and lieutenant governors and lieutenant governor and the administration in general here in the state of Illinois. But on an Illinois basis, let's talk about that and some of the work that you're doing when it comes to this preventing gun-related tragedies.
Yeah, and we know that this is something we just, can't escape, unfortunately, in our society. And sometimes it's also difficult to talk about because of all of the at times things thrown at this topic. And part of what we in the Illinois Department of Public Health, and have been fortunate to have incredible partners in this work, try to think about how we position important pieces of legislation that we have passed through the governor's leadership and our Illinois General Assembly. And one of those things is firearm restraining orders, or kind of also called extreme risk protection orders or red flag laws. We're one of 21 states and the Washington, D.C. to have a law like this.
Wow.
That temporarily removes someone's ability to possess or purchase a gun temporarily during a time of crisis, and bringing out innovative public health campaigns that really allow people to understand this and use this really important protection order we have in the state.
Is it the biggest? Well, let me back up and ask a better question. What is, based on your observation and the data that you have, what is our single biggest health concern in the state of Illinois?
It's a great question, but I think it's a difficult one to answer. And part of a little bit, and to kind of alter this question a bit, right? That we have kind of large indicators of things that cause you to get sick or pass away. That's cardiovascular disease, that's diabetes, that's chronic lower respiratory disease. But public health at its heart is also about prevention. Mm-hmm. And I think for us to really think about public health more broadly, not to define health just by a single disease, right? Because no one is, well, I am a person, insert disease, have heart disease, have cardiovascular disease. I'm a whole person, and I'm in a whole community. And we have to think about the ways that those health aspects interact. And I think in some ways COVID taught us that too, and that's been a big part of where we're trying to learn and implement lessons of COVID amidst, a lot of uncertainty coming from the federal government. And I think what COVID taught us is, yes, we had to handle the crisis of the moment, and that was COVID-19, but it also affected our mental health. We saw heart disease go up during COVID. We saw people not being able to be diagnosed with cancer. We saw people not able to get life-saving vaccines. And how do we think about public health holistically? So yes, we decrease those top diseases that lead to health challenges, but we're also interweaving it about somebody's journey and journey through better health that gives them a better quality of life.
So in that space of talking about COVID and all, what would you say we've gotten better at or that we've learned? I know that you just talked about, access to things, information is a big part of it, but what are some of the other things that you saw or have seen we as a state from a health perspective have gotten better at since the height of COVID?
Yeah, well, I think very fortunate here in Illinois to have a leader like Governor Pritzker, who even at the height of COVID was a proponent of public health and really incorporating the best evidence to kind of make decisions. And part of that journey was also, how do we get better at this? And so in May 2024, we did release kind of a COVID after action plan. You can find it with an internet search. And what it really sort of showed us is that the areas that we needed to work on and improving on is, one, improving, preparing for future emergencies. And we've done that through creating elite special pathogen centers in the state, really the way that we've been able to mobilize around things like measles. Two, how do we modernize our systems? So, we had workforce challenges in public health. We also, at times, didn't have the ability to use the advanced technology. And so we've started a Center for Informatics at the Illinois Department of Public Health, really taking real-time data and turning it into action, including with the measles outbreak, using a measles predictor dashboard where you can click on where your school district is and see what kind of risk you have for an outbreak. Then improving our communications, right? And as you said, it's so important to work through, talk about this stuff. It is complicated, and people need to sort of understand it, especially because there's so much communications coming in, misinformation, disinformation. We at the Illinois Department of Public Health want to tell you information and make it credible and realistic. And then finally, and I know it's been a theme through our talk, how do we invest in community? Because it's really, we're a big, diverse state. We got to understand where people are at to be able to get them to a place through partnership. And public health really about the power of partnership to work together around better health outcomes. And even if we have the greatest solution, if people aren't going to use it, understand it, respect it, it's not going to get us to where we need to go. And that requires both a lot of study, but a lot of humility to understand and meet people where they are so we can get ultimately to be the healthiest state we can be.
Humility. Wow. I smiled when you said that because it's such an incredible and integral part of how we learn and go forward, is to allowing ourselves to have enough humility to say, okay, I didn't know that, or I didn't know as much as I thought I know about that. So now how can I go forward? And that then gets into the conversation, Dr. Vohra, of information. Because you said it earlier, prevention is so critically important. But if people, and again, I'm not the doctor here, you are, but it seems as though if people are not aware of what is out there in terms of the benefits, and if it's not presented to them or they don't know where to go, then prevention becomes harder, it seems, because sometimes people just aren't aware of what's out there for them to take advantage of. Do you encounter that in your work?
I think all the time, right? And I knew that sort of as a general pediatrician, and even things like the firearm restraining orders that I mentioned. We did a study through kind of our partners. Only 10% of Illinoisans are really familiar with this kind of life-saving mechanism. And how do you work with kind of innovative partners? This sort of campaign that we were able to launch a couple of days ago, you can find more information on it at illinois.gov/pause to heal, is a partnership with Brady, that really the expertise that they have, the kind of marketing expertise of the Ad Council, and then adding kind of the credible voice of the Illinois Department of Public Health. And I think part of this is, one, you got to get the information out so people have access to it. How to do it sometimes in a fun, exciting way. And there are moments, right, where government needs help to find the right kind of innovative partners that can do that, especially when you're slammed with so much information all the time. And so we've been trying to think about that differently and really sort of appeal, yes, to the facts and the data, but the stories that really grip us. And part of the other fantastic thing about the job that I have is I get to travel across the state and meet people who are doing incredible things. And I think that's the inspiration, that how do we take those small pockets of innovation and really try to bring them to other areas so we can continue to make Illinois healthy and strong.
Well, that's just amazing. And then I smiled again when you said you're getting to travel across the state. I have a question to ask you, but we're talking with Dr. Samira Vohra, who is the director of the Illinois Department of Health, Public Health, and is one of those warriors that's out there every day fighting to make health care, health conversations, information all better for those of us in the state of Illinois. So I'll come back to what you just said a moment ago about traveling around and talking with different of strategic partners. What kind of interaction do you have with regular everyday folk, and what are some of the things that they're saying to you that are helping you, for lack of better words, do a better job or be more informed in the work that you do, Dr. Vohra?
Well, I think part of, yes, and there's a lot of conversations, right, with healthcare leaders and public health leaders and community leaders. But often the best and meaningful interaction is with people in our communities who I know are working so hard every day to figure out the right path for themselves and their family. And part of it is just a moment where how do we better understand how to take the steps to be healthy? How do we do that amidst the stressful challenges of our lives? And then why and how can kind of government be more effective and efficient while not taking away all of the incredible things that the government does provide? And it's been hard, especially with the amount of federal changes that are happening and uncertainty. But I think we all take the lead of our governor, who is out there fighting for our residents and doing it in a way that is about compassion and courage. And part of this is that in our big state, we want to find avenues to, as I said previously, kind of meet people where they are and not sort of say, well, here we go. Here is what somebody in government is saying. No, this is how government is going to partner, work to understand. And I think the other thing that we're really trying to bring into public health is this idea of community-led, community-built solutions. And we have, some innovative work led by the governor, birth equity grants that work in communities do just that around maternal and infant health, health equity zones where we're providing money to communities to build their own strategies around the health challenges that really affect them. And then taking things like these firearm restraining orders here in Illinois and using the types of campaigns and the 3 sort of public service announcements that were just released this week. They come from real life examples, right? Taking things that we've learned, putting it into areas where people can understand the journey and the story and see how it applies in their own lives as well.
This is an ongoing, and thank you, Dr. Vohra, for that and helping us understand your connection to folks that you see, whether they be those that are on an administrative level as a strategic partner or individuals that you've had a chance to chat with. And to that end, we definitely, since this is an ongoing, everyday concern for yours as a practitioner, but certainly as for us as regular everyday folk, we definitely want to be able to have you back to talk more about this. As right before you came on, we had Natasha Murphy on, director of health policy at the Center for American Progress, and she talked about how important it is that people be involved and be a participant in this process. And I am a big advocate of that through my show, to make sure that people can be involved, that they know where to turn, that they know where their tools and resources and all that are. So what is it that you feel or think or advise individuals to do to be more involved in the process of navigating through our health care and health systems that we have?
Richard, I think a great question. And part of it is that use your support system to lean in. Now more than ever is a time where we need to kind of shape the course of where we're going in this state and in this country. And things that have traditionally been kind of bedrock principles, things that throughout my career I wouldn't have thought for a second to question. The idea that vaccines save lives, things that I've had the fortune to rarely see in my career that my teachers saw all the time, and then things like measles that have been such a big issue in this country this year, things that we had previously eradicated. And so lean in, this is a place where ask questions, but use the expertise that we have in combination to really get us to a place where we'll make the improvements that we need to make. Of course we do in our society, but also let's hold on to the things that have really worked. And that requires leaning in. And I know sometimes it is difficult, but we here at the state of Illinois and the Illinois Department of Public Health want to be your partner be your advocate so that our residents can lead healthy lives. And we'll take that responsibility to take care of things so that our residents don't have to. But lean in, be a participant, just like you mentioned in the process, so we can continue to improve health outcomes throughout Illinois.
Dr. Vohra, we appreciate the work you're doing, very specifically with regard to firearm safety and preventing gun-related tragedies, but in a broader sense, how much of the leadership you're showing when it comes to our health in the state of Illinois. And I know that right now the state of Illinois is kind of become a very central point when it comes to leadership that the rest of the country's sort of taking a note from. So thank you for that. And thank you for being such an active advocate for better health in the state and the rest of the nation. How can our listeners and followers find you, maybe get involved in some way? Let folks know how they can stay in touch with you or stay aware of what you're doing.
Yeah, so please visit us, dph.illinois.gov. You'll find all of the information around how the Illinois Department of Public Health works, how the programs that I referenced can help you and your community. And for more information about the firearm restraining orders, that's illinois.gov/pause to heal. Richard, thanks so much for the time, really sort of inviting this important conversation, and would love to be back anytime.
We'll make sure that happens, Dr. Vohra. We really appreciate you being on the show. We appreciate your hard work and leadership. Have a great weekend. Stay safe, and we'll talk to you soon, okay?
Thanks so much. You as well.
All right. Bye-bye. Bye now. Healthcare Day, Henry. Health professionals. It's like my example of you, me, and 8 other people are walking down the street. We're all breathing the same air, whether the 8 of them are climate deniers or not. And when it comes to our health, it is our connective tissue. We all want each other to be in good health. I ask the guys every day when they come in, how you doing? How you feeling? Because I believe in that. And I believe in that for all of us. We have to be certain. We have to make certain that we are involved. And like Dr. Vohra said, leaning in. Where have you heard some other goofy guys say those words? Leaning in, y'all, to the things that are concerning to us. All right, we're at the end of the show, and I promise I try to get these 2 quick calls in that have been hanging with us. Let's go to Butch real quickly from Elmhurst. Hey, Butch, welcome to the show as we wrap up today.
All right. Well, hey, you got to wrap up. It's every day. I understand, Richard. I want to make 2 quick points. I want to talk about tariffs really quick, which simply are a national sales tax on 100% of us. Now, apparently 4% who are getting this tax cuts don't seem to care. And they're probably making money on the other end, too, but I don't care about that. The next thing I want to talk about is this gerrymandering issue you talk about. When you have legal versus legal, you go to the courts and this and that, and these guys have a way to hold up the courts because of the corrupt Supreme Court. So legal versus legal is not always an option for our side. Evil versus evil should never be an option. I always if you're going to fight evil, I always say go with an anti-evil. Okay, and the 3 best anti-evils I know are truth, facts, and reality. And then number 4 goes to all bad habits, which is a list of 47 things that I won't get into. But as I said before, it wasn't for bad habits, we'd all be evil. It wasn't for evil people. They wouldn't be called bad habits. It'd be called anti-evils. Which brings up my next point. An aggressive progressive like yourself and every one of your guests, 99.6% of your callers, we're all aggressive progressives. I also believe we can also be deemed as anti-evil advocates. Okay?
That's powerful.
Richard, I'll nominate you, if we're going to start a political party, the AEA party, anti-evil advocate. I nominate you at least for vice president.
Well, Butch, man, I love the quick laundry list of stuff because you're right. We do have to fight this fight. We do have to fight it and breach out the evil, dig out the evil that's there.
Well, let me say one more thing, Richard, and I'll be done here. I also think people should point out as they go to these red districts or red states that if you're going to live in a red state, they have a black agenda. And why is that? Because the people that run it have red minds and black hearts. I Illinois should sell themselves as a blue state with a blue agenda. I like that. And it also goes back to what I say before. When there's 3 kinds of people in the world, Richard. There's you people with blue hearts and blue minds. That would be about 6% to maybe 99% of us on any given day. But unfortunately, what rules the world since the beginning of time is that I believe are red minds and black hearts.
Yeah, I get it.
It's a sad state of affairs. But that's it, Rich. I just want to make that point.
All right,
why
Butch.
the world it is.
Beautiful. All right, man. Have a great weekend. We'll talk to you soon. Bye now.
Thanks, man. Bye. Goodbye.
Let's grab Jim real quickly. Jim, you got 30 seconds. Get it in.
Yeah, I'm sad about tango lessons in Brazil. They're going to go sky high.
Yeah.
If they don't spring Bolsonaro soon. But it's hard for him to tango with an ankle bracelet on. But they seem to be fixated about getting him out of there. Sure, Hexaf is going to send a couple of helicopters and spring him out of that prison down there.
Yeah.
Because they love that. They love that guy. He's accused of everything under the sun. And then you have a good weekend, Richard. Thank you.
Thanks, Jim. Be well.
Thanks, Jim. Be well.
All right, guys. I wanted to get those guys in. They've been holding, and they were always so patient, but also ones that contribute volumes to the show and their thoughts. So thanks to Butch and thanks to Jim. And thanks to all of you guys. Obviously, my shout-outs to Henry and to Devin and the rest of the team here at CPT that keep us moving on, guys. Keep us on the rails. And thanks to our guests all throughout the week. We had some phenomenal people with us, and I'm just grateful, starting with our man Eric Grant, family meeting. It was great to have Robin Steens, Enrico Moat, Dante King, Abe Scar, Kurt Mullet, Michael Suzan, Rachel Bidikofer, Dan Summons, and Darren Smith, Dr. Annie Andrews, and today, Karen Byrne from TruBlu Politics Podcast, Natasha Murphy, Dr. Samir Vohra, and you guys. So thanks again for being with us. Have a great weekend. Take a deep breath, y'all, and make your life count. We'll see you next week.
It's nice to know someone is on your side. Mark Drugs always has your back. No two dogs are the same. A dosage form or strength of medication that works for one dog may not work for another. A compounding pharmacy like Mark Drugs is here to help you with your pet's medication challenges. We'll be happy to help you when your pet is sick. After all, it can affect the whole family. That's why we give our four-legged patients customized medications to make it easier for them to take. For pet medication problems, first see your veterinarian. Then talk to your hometown independent compounding pharmacy, Mark Drugs. If you'd like to know more about the ways we can personalize medication for each individual patient,